Éducation, c'est richesse. L'émission qui valorise notre culture et notre savoir. Vous aimez nos contenus? Alors, abonnez-vous à notre chaîne YouTube pour ne rien manquer. Abonnez-vous pour rester informé de toutes nos émissions inspirantes. Likez pour soutenir notre mission éducative. Partagez pour diffuser les vraies valeurs de notre pays. Ensemble, faisons briller l'éducation et la culture haïtienne.
Bonjour, bonsoir tout auditeurs, téléspectateurs, éducation c'est richesse. C'est une nouvelle année 2025. Son plaisir pour nous gagner avec nous encore une fois, pour nous démarrer l'année ça sous de nouvelles couleurs, avec de nouvelles perspectives. Et année ça, une bagaille qui peut intéresser nous, c'est comment nous le faire pour nous changer mind, nous, pour nous un mindset qui est prêt pour nous passer une année qui est extraordinaire, parce que quel que soit ce que tu as décidé pour faire, si d'avance ou pas déjà préparé mind ou pas un mindset qui adéquat, il pas vraiment utile loin à la fin de l'année, l'on fait bilan. Et c'est dans ça que nous avons invité qui est extraordinaire, qui écrit un livre qui parlait de mindset shift. C'est monsieur Taron Ragan que nous connaissons avec nous aujourd'hui. Ils sont monde qui c'est un CPA qui lui parler nous un peu de carrière li, ben ils sont CPA qui ont une longue carrière qui également fait un pile discours, qui fait passer un pile message qui a un rapport avec mindset. C'est son plaisir pour nous gagner là avec nous aujourd'hui. Émission pral fait en anglais. Et n'a make sure que nous gain traduction en bas vidéo pour permettre que tout le monde puisse participer. Son plaisir jodi pour nous accueillir dans éducation et richesse Mr. Taron Ragan. Welcome to Éducation et richesse. How you doing?
Thank you, Steve. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Great. It's a real pleasure to have you. It's a new year. Usually people think, they fix new goals, new objectives, and it's a real thing. Mindset is a real thing, and usually you can't fix a lot of, but if you don't set your mind to achieve them, you usually by the end of the year you can't really account for any of them. And I know you have a book that mindset shift that you publish. It's available on Amazon. Can you present yourself a little bit for our listeners, our followers, and tell them who you are and what's your line of work?
Yeah. So I'm Taron, currently a finance manager at Microsoft, focused primarily on strategic planning and helping shape Microsoft's AI growth strategy. So really exciting work I have the privilege to do. And I think one of the major mindset shifts that I had along my journey was recognizing the ways that, in the small ways that I was already successful. I think far too often we think about success as something that is always in front of us. But I think if each person analyzes their life and their current situation, we can all find small ways that we're already successful. And so when I began to think like that, everything changed for me. So at the time when I had this mindset shift, I was in college. I had been evicted from my student apartment when I was 19 years old. I was supporting myself and my family back home. and I had gone through a really tough period where I spent the semester homeless, literally outside, or like I had a couple of friends who they would allow me to sleep on their floors or couch or whatever was available. And the next semester, I got a job as a forklift operator, and I worked that job full time, went to classes at night, all while living in a motel. And so, just after at the tail end of this semester, I had saved up enough money to get student housing again. And it was my father-in-law who told me this. I was telling him I can't wait to become successful. And he was like, well, Taron, aren't you the first person in your family to go to college? Aren't you the first person in your family to leave home at 18 and support yourself? Didn't you overcome being homeless and living in a motel? He said, I think you're thinking about it the wrong way in wanting to become successful. You need to think about how you are already successful. And I think that gave me a significant confidence boost. And from that moment, I've operated with a much higher level of confidence and conviction in who I am as a person and what I'm capable of. And so I say that's me and a little bit about me, and the first piece of advice that I would give to the listeners as they strive to become leaders and reach their own version of the life that they want to have.
Perfect, perfect. And I'll encourage all our listeners to read that book, Mindset Shift. The book came out in April 14th, 2021. It's still now. Mindset is something that's really precious, and I really encourage our listeners to read that book. Do you think mindset is enough to help someone go to the next level? Do you think mindset by itself is enough?
I don't think mindset is enough. I think mindset is the starting place because your mindset is what dictates your actions. And so I learned that from my therapist. And so that's something in our communities that is not taken advantage of enough. Therapist, a therapist is like a physical trainer, except they're a mental trainer. They tell you the right way to think about things. If you have a great therapist, they'll tell you if you're thinking about something in the wrong way. They'll validate when you're thinking about things the right way. And so I learned from my therapist that your actions are driven by the way you think and your mindset. So I think mindset is the starting place. So you have to develop a strong mindset in order to move in the direction that you want to go. But you also have to combine the proper mindset with a high level of execution, because you can think about things the right way all day long, but if there's no execution, then there will be no progress. So I think those two things have to work together to achieve the things that people want to achieve in life.
Perfect, perfect. I know that you just mentioned that you work for Microsoft. How did your journey begin with them, and how was the evolution for you there since
Yeah.
the start?
Yeah. So I have to start this story off by saying one of the things that has helped me in my journey to reach the places that I have is helping people. I place a strong emphasis on helping as many people as I can. And, there's a balance because you have to prioritize your family and
Yeah.
your own mental health and physical health. But I try to help as many people as I can. So at the time, I was working in Deloitte Consulting, and I primarily worked with the CFO strategy group, also worked with the mergers and acquisitions group. and I worked on a lot of technology implementations, and I fulfilled the role of a product manager on those projects. So writing user stories and functional specifications and all these documents that got sent off to software engineers to actually build fintech products. So I was developing that skill set at Deloitte, and I actually had a friend who he got laid off from Deloitte, and I wanted to do everything in my power to help him secure his next opportunity. And so I literally made a post on LinkedIn, reaching out to my network, asking for support to help me help him. And because of that, we landed him 3 interviews, and it turned into 3 full-time offers. Well, in the process of trying to help him, I was looking online and I found a role at Microsoft that really interested me. And so I wasn't intending to leave Deloitte, but that role was interesting. Microsoft felt like a great opportunity to work for an impactful company, and also for me to grow personally as a leader. And so I applied for the role, and good fortune was on my side. I like to think it was because I found this opportunity in the midst of helping someone else. And maybe a month after I applied, a recruiter reached out to me and asked me if I would interview, and the rest was history. And so joining Microsoft, I started off in finance in the devices business unit. So monthly close and forecast cycles, helping plan for the fixed assets that are used to build Microsoft's laptops and Xboxes and the accessories that are associated with those products. And one thing that I did in my first role at Microsoft was volunteer for different projects. And volunteering for these different projects, it does a few things. It gives you access to a new network. So you meet new team members, you get to build relationships with them and become familiar with their teams and how they operate. You get to learn their processes, and you just become smarter on the company that you're working for as a whole. And so I volunteered for these projects, and it helped me that way. But it also gave me exposure to leaders in other areas of the business. So several projects that I worked on outside of the scope of my work, internal control testing. I worked on tax assessments. I helped the external reporting team review and prepare the quarterly 10Q that gets reported to the SEC. So these are experiences that I gained just volunteering to help. And one of these projects led to my current role, where I now manage about $2 billion worth of spend related to the headcount that is responsible for growing Microsoft's AI business, as well as the broader growth strategy. And so analyzing the market and bringing these insights back into Microsoft to help shape and drive our strategy for growing the AI business. So that's my journey.
Perfect. Yeah, which proves that helping others and going the extra miles or open doors. That's perfect. Your story is a story of resilience. Can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing and how much your early experiences contributed to that resilience that you kept?
Yep. So my upbringing was a combination of good experiences, but also challenging experiences. The good experiences, although we didn't have a lot, we had a lot of love within my family. So I never felt like I went without love or people who cared for me. And I think that is a large part of why I was able to endure tough times and get to where I am. But on the challenging side of things, so we didn't have money at all. We moved pretty much every year. Our household included like 9 family members, and these houses were like 3-bedroom houses. I remember when I was in 9th grade, the house that we lived in, it didn't have like the wiring necessary to have lighting throughout the entire house. So the only rooms that had like lighting in the ceiling, so you can like flip the switch and turn on the light, was the 3 bedrooms. The living room had no light, so we had to light the room using like candles and like lamps that we bought. The dining room had no light. In the kitchen, if you move the refrigerator like 3 feet to the left, you can literally see there's a hole. You can literally see under the house. I remember one of my siblings and my cousin, they shared a room that was actually the dining room that we converted into a bedroom. So I think it gives you some insight into my upbringing and kind of how I came up. Another pivotal moment was when I was 12 years old. My father, I actually lost him to gun violence on Labor Day of 2009. And
sorry about that.
Coincidentally, a couple of nights before he passed, we were outside, just me and him. We were talking, and he made me promise that I would make better choices in my life than he'd made, because my hometown is gangs and, a lot of things that you can fall into. And so he made me make that promise to him that I would strive to reach my full potential and build a life that's better than what he had created. And even though he passed away a few years later, it was extremely important for me to keep my word to him, even though he was no longer here. And so through some of those tough moments in college, when I was homeless and living in a motel, when I felt like I wanted to give up, I would always reflect and think about that promise that I made to him, that I would reach my full potential and that I would keep going. And so that was the love that I had from my family, my community, the people that believed in me, and that promise that I made to my father, and also just my relationship with God, were enough to help me overcome all of the circumstances and challenges that I had to face to get to where I am.
Oh, perfect. The story proves that whatever the environment that you may be in, there's always a chance for you to go above all that and make something of yourself. And you had a lot of inspiration. You said your parents, you have the to even before death, you have parents telling you, even though they may be doing some stuff, this is the path to go, to follow. And you also had the mindset, the necessary mindset to follow the right path. And later during your career, you decided to go for tech and accounting. Was that an inspiration from someone, a mentor, or you just had the desire to go for these 2 different paths?
So I developed an entrepreneurial mindset. I think I was born with an entrepreneurial spirit, but my grandmother definitely nurtured it. So I grew up going to work with her on a farm where her job was to raise goats. And so I would go with her. I think I started going when I was like 3 or 4 years old, and throughout my childhood on like Saturday mornings at 5 a.m. to help her feed the goats, clean their pens, put out hay. So she really taught me hard work, and she worked on that farm for over 30 years, and she saw a problem one day. There was a lot of milk going to waste, and so she bought a book and she taught herself how to make ice cream and organic goat's milk soap, and she even branched out into making cheese and lotion, organic lotion. And so I say that I bring this story up because my grandmother, she really taught me hard work, but she nurtured my entrepreneurial spirit. And so along the way, I have started several companies. So I was a kid in high school that in middle school, I started doing this when I was 12 years old, selling candy to my classmates, selling sneakers online. I had a gaming company where I think I was like 19 years old at the time. I worked a summer job as a groundskeeper. I saved up all of my money, built a competitive Call of Duty team, and like sent this team to California to play in a Call of Duty tournament. So I've had this entrepreneurial spirit for as long as I can remember. And when I was in college, I was trying to start different ventures, and I knew that I was missing something. And as a business major, you're required to take two intro accounting courses. So you have to take intro to financial accounting, but you also have to take managerial accounting. Well, when I was in my managerial accounting course, the professor said something to me that struck me. She said, accounting is the language of business. And if you can learn that language, it will carry you no matter where you go in business, especially as an entrepreneur. And so that line sold me. And after doing research, and if you conduct independent research today, you'll find a lot of people who majored in accounting in undergrad have become anything you can think about in business: CEOs, CFOs, founders, investors. And so that was my inspiration for choosing a career in accounting, as well as I think a major problem in our community is lack of financial literacy. And so I think learning accounting and finance was a way for me to become more financially literate and being able to read the financial statements of companies and understanding trends and how the company is performing in order to make investment decisions when I'm looking to buy a stock or an index fund with a basket of stocks. And so it was also a way for me to become more financially literate. So overall, really just a way for me to become a stronger business professional, entrepreneur, was that foundation, but also helping me to become more financially literate. Sorry.
Perfect. Beautiful story, very inspiring. I know you usually setbacks usually discourage people, but you've been striving, you've been working hard, and so far your career proves that you never stop. As Have you faced any challenge, any setback in your professional career that you had to rebound from? Or can you share any experience like that and motivate some people that might be going through the same?
Yep. So when I was at Deloitte, I was transferring from the audit practice to the consulting practice, and I had been at Deloitte in audit for maybe 8 or 9 months at the time. And I bring this example up because it was particularly challenging because this had never been done before. So there's never been a person who transferred from audit directly to Deloitte Consulting in less than a year. And it really took a toll on my mental health because there was a lot of uncertainty around if it was possible. There was a lot of uncertainty around what groups would I go into? Would they be willing to accept me into those groups? And it was maybe a 2 or 3 month period in 2022 where I was on a consulting engagement and I was still being paid by audit, but I was on a consulting engagement. They'd staffed me on, and that consulting engagement ended. And so I had this period where like I was technically no longer an auditor being staffed on those audit engagements. And I was trending towards becoming a consultant, but it wasn't certain that it was going to happen. And I think during those times, I really had to remind myself that I've been through much more difficult challenges in my personal life. I think a lot of times people forget that things that we go through personally are oftentimes a lot more difficult than the things that we're facing professionally. And if you really sit down and reflect, oftentimes the challenges that we're experiencing professionally are champagne problems compared to the things that we've had to overcome in our personal lives. And so when I transferred into consulting, it wasn't a very smooth transition. Still had a period where I didn't have projects, and it was important to get projects because your end of year performance is going to be measured based on the percentage of time over the entire performance year where you're actively staffed to and billing clients. And so for me to overcome this, I really just leaned into those relationships. Every day I would have 2 to 4 meetings with new people in consulting and just meeting people and investing in those relationships. And before long, I landed a project, and I knew once I got that project, I needed to really perform well so that they could bring me over to the next and to the next. And 2 things I say what helped me to perform well was not just relying on the people in my team, but something that I learned is you should always have a network outside of your team within your company that you can bounce ideas off of, that you can get information from, because there's always someone else at the company that has experienced something similar or exactly what you are going through. And so being able to source ideas and information outside of your project that you can bring to the project will enable you to add more value. But also something that a lot of people in consulting did was when they got on a project, they got complacent and they stopped building relationships. Well, I never stopped building relationships. I continued to do it even when I was on a project, and I continued to do it in volume and having repeat conversations with people that I talked to. And so this helped me within a year of being in consulting. I was on 6 different projects, and 5 of them were platinum accounts with Deloitte. And around the time where people were being started being let go, unfortunately, because I had formed these relationships, I was able to choose between 2 or 3 different projects. So I was very fortunate, but those are 2 things that you can actively do to set yourself up for success, continuing to build relationships.
Network.
So,
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. I know you've worked as a tech startup advisor.
Yep.
And 80 right now, there's a lot of startups. The idea is starting to spread in our community. As a startup advisor, mostly in the tech industry, what are the biggest challenge you think a young startup may face in the current economy, especially in emerging markets like 80? And what are the key qualities that you look for in a startup or the founder, if
Yep.
you can share?
Yeah. So I'm passionate about this one, and specifically for underserved communities. Building a startup can be challenging, and I would encourage anyone who wants to become a founder to think like a VC. Like, try to take a step back from your idea and not think of it as a founder, but think of it as a venture capitalist. So some of the things that a venture capitalist will look for is the total addressable market for this idea large enough for your idea to become, possibly a unicorn company making $1 billion plus a year in revenue. So is the market there for this company? Is your idea actually solving a problem, or is it a solution in search of a problem? Because if it's just a good idea that you really can't pinpoint what specific problem you're solving, it's probably not a viable business idea. I would say also, when you are looking to start a company, you should ask yourself, is this a product that I need? Is this a product that I would use? Because if you're building a product that you would not use, that you think someone else would use, that's also probably an indicator that it's not a good idea. I would say a pervasive challenge just across venture capital and the entrepreneurial landscape in general is lack of capital being allocated to underserved communities. I think the current statistic is somewhere between 2 and 3% of all venture capital gets allocated to underserved founders. So I think we need more underserved community members to become venture capitalists, to make sure that diverse voices are considered at cap tables and when investments are made into founders from emerging markets. I think that's a way that we can continue to drive change as a founder. But yeah, I would say those are some things I would think about.
Vous écoutez Éducation c'est richesse, le podcast à ne pas rater.
Perfect. And right now, technology. How do you think a young founder or any startup, how do you think they should leverage cloud and AI right now? Do you think that these technologies in the next 5 to 10 years, how do you see the impact that they're gonna have on society? Is it more positive, or how do you see that? And do you think that a young founder right now should leverage these technologies?
Yeah, I absolutely think so. I think when you think about, so like GDP, and I'll say within the US specifically, I think AI is going to add a significant amount to GDP. And what that means is there are going to be more job opportunities, but those job opportunities will require different skill sets. So in order to thrive in the future, we have to embrace this technology now and really learn how to use it, and even better, learn the fundamentals behind it so we can speak to it intelligently. And so I absolutely think we should be leveraging this technology both as founders and consumers. As a founder, I believe we're in a position right now where AI can be leveraged to truly disrupt industries in a positive way and make change in the world that literally spans around the world. So I definitely think there's significant market opportunity, and I think we need to, as underserved and emerging communities, need to fully embrace this technology to ensure that our communities aren't left behind as both founders and consumers. And I think by doing that, it will help across the board. It will help create more wealth in our communities. Ed tech driven AI platforms are making it easier and more accessible to get a quality education and learn whatever topic you want to learn. So when it comes to students from these communities gaining access to elite universities and the opportunities and networks that accompany those universities, it becomes more possible if we embrace these kinds of products, even as consumers, to really reap the benefit that they're going to provide to society. So absolutely, we should take advantage of these products, both as founders and consumers.
Great, great. What's the best advice you've ever received about entrepreneurship or technology?
So I'll say the best piece of advice I've been given about entrepreneurship, and it is also technology related, is something that you can do with. So when you're in the seed stage and you have a seed idea, you don't have a product, you just have like this idea that you're selling, in hopes of raising capital so that you can build a minimum viable product and start generating revenue, and you reach pre-seed, and then you reach the seed stage, is conducting interviews. So go out and hustle and conduct interviews with people who you believe are your target customer. And what you'll find is you're able to develop these personas. And so when you're selling your pre-seed idea to a VC, to gain investment to start building product, you now have these personas from real people that you can speak to, so that you can articulate the problem it is that you're solving for these people. And oftentimes when you're in the process of doing that, you will uncover other problems that these people are facing that can either enhance your current startup idea or totally redirect you to developing a startup idea that you hadn't even thought about. So this is also a great way to source ideas. It's like you go directly to the source. People understand the problems that they face. You go directly to the source, understand what problems they face, develop a perspective on how your solution might help them, or you learn new things around what they're facing, and you can develop a solution to solve directly for that while developing these personas that will enable you to effectively articulate the problems that you're solving and use cases in specific people's lives to venture capitalists when you're looking to raise capital to build product.
Great, great, perfect, perfect. Apart from, I know you very involved in AI cloud. Apart from these two, what other tech trend are you most excited about right now?
Yeah, to be honest, I think it's really, I'm really most excited about AI, and I think this upcoming year is going to be about AI agents, and these agents are going to be able to help you do tasks. They're going to be a partner to you to do tasks that you traditionally do fully manually. Like there's a company founded by a guy named Michael Burvell. It's called Test Party, and it helps software companies automate digital accessibility compliance. So when you're building a company, you have your website and your mobile app has to adhere to ADA standards, so that it is equitable and accessible and inclusive to people who have disabilities. And so that market is largely driven by providers who have some manual aspect to ensuring that these software companies are adhering to ADA compliance. And Test Party has developed a solution that it monitors your code, and it will allow you to do direct to code adjustments to ensure that your product website or mobile app is compliant with ADA standards, and reducing a lot of risks around lawsuits and fines and penalties from the government. And so it's opportunities like these that are in AI agents that are really helping solve some problems for both businesses and people. So I know you said aside from AI and cloud, but I think this is really the thing to be excited about right now.
Definitely, definitely. For a young Asian founder listening right now, usually a lot of new technology. I mean, not really new technologies, because most of our like, I'll say, black founders, or from emerging markets, usually they consume
Yep.
instead of like creating new technology, or creating new apps, or new things like that. And when they do, it stays within close communities. They never scale to that next level. What do you think a founder could do or should do to scale up, to go above, like, either their own community, the black community, to create something that's global?
Yep. I think it's primarily relationships. And the reason I say relationships is because oftentimes what limits us is what we don't know. And in my personal experience, a lot of things that I have learned have been both intentional and unintentional. And a lot of the things that I've learned unintentionally have fundamentally changed the way I think, the way I operate, the way I go after opportunities. And I wouldn't have discovered some of these things if it hadn't been for a mentor. And I mean, literally random encounters. I remember I was giving a speech one time, and this guy named Bill Mulcahy, he became a mentor for me because he was an audience member that heard my speech. And so this was a relationship that I wasn't building intentionally, but he was inspired by the speech I gave, and he wanted to become a mentor. And so I poured into that relationship, and he taught me so much that helped me take my life from, so in startups you go 0 to 1 and then et cetera. So I think I was close to 1, but he helped me go from 1 to 8, and just pouring into me all this information. And so I think definitely getting out there and going to conferences, and also being around other brave founders who are pushing to make change in the world will just be a motivating force that will help you keep going when things get difficult. I think a lot of times black founders don't go as far as they can because it gets difficult. It gets difficult at a certain point. Scaling is hard. There's a reason why there are so few unicorn companies. 0 to 1, in my opinion, is not easy, but it's the easier phase.
Yeah.
To grow and, to get some customers and get some revenue. But when you're really trying to turn the page and go for exponential scale and go from 1 to 10, that's when things get hard. So having that community of other founders and entrepreneurs will help you keep going when you see them keep going. So I think relationships can really unlock the potential in black founders, and through exposing new information that is needed, because there's a lot of information on the actual steps that need to be taken to scale a company to $1 billion plus company that I just don't think a lot of black founders have. And it's not information that is impossible to access. So like the example I gave earlier around going out and conducting customer interviews to build personas, and also as a way to generate new startup ideas. That was something that I learned through literally having a Zoom call with the founder who had built a company successfully. And I was at the time trying to build my own product, and he taught me that. So rely on relationships to help you learn the information that you don't have, and a community to keep you going. Also, startup incubators like Microsoft for Startups is not difficult to get into. You just have to have, I think you have to have an LLC, and you have to have your papers registered appropriately, and chances are you will be admitted. And once you get admitted to Microsoft for Startups, they start you off with, I believe it's $1,000 in credit, Azure credit, so you can start building. And as you build, they give you more free credits to build your product, and you can build up to $100,000 in free Azure credits. And so they're incentivizing you to keep building while also giving you access to product managers who can help guide you along the way, software engineers who can give you mentorship. So Microsoft for startups is a gold resource, I would say, and also Google for startups. There are a lot of different startup incubators that I think we should be applying for and pursuing and building relationships in and around more actively to help us go from 1 to 10 when we're trying to take our revolutionary ideas across the world.
Perfect, perfect. That was wonderful. It was a real honor, a real pleasure to have you with us today. And if there is anything, I don't know if you have any other book coming out or anything coming out in the next few weeks, few months.
Yeah. Within the next, I would say, year, I do have another book that I'm working on. So we haven't landed on the name yet, but it's a leadership focused book, intertwined with tech.
Perfect.
And so just follow me on LinkedIn or connect with me on LinkedIn, Taron Ragan, and be on the lookout. I'll make an announcement when that comes out. And also just feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you want to talk, if you have a startup idea that you want to chat about, or think about how you can secure venture capital, and you just need a sparring partner to help you go through those initial stages of forming and refining your idea and growth strategies and those kind of things. Or if you just need a person to talk to for some inspiration or motivation and a pick me up, I'll be here for you for that too.
Perfect. I was about to ask you if you have any key advice you wanted to leave our audience with, but that kind of sums it up as well. But one more thing, if I may add,
Yep.
Looking ahead, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want people to remember you for?
Yeah, I want to be remembered.
It might be a little early to ask that question, but
No, I've thought about this a lot lately. I want to be remembered in a couple of ways. I want to be remembered as a person who took the risks that I wanted to take in life to make sure that when I reach the end of my life, I don't look back with regret. So I want those who know me and those who see me from afar to really think he really went for it. He really took the risk, and he inspires me to do the same thing and to really go after what it is that I want in life. I want to be remembered as a leader who transforms adversity into a beacon of hope for other people. I've known since I was a child that my life purpose was to be an example of no matter what your circumstances are, you can become who you want in life. And I want people to look back on my life and say, he really inspires me to keep going. He really helps me understand that there is no problem that is too big without, as long as you have community helping you along the way. And I want to be a person that helps lift other people to their full potential. Those are some of the most rewarding moments for me when I've helped a student understand where they want to go in life and took the extra step of helping them actually secure a tangible opportunity to become the person they need to become to fulfill their potential. So those are the three things that I want to be remembered for.
Perfect, perfect. I want to thank you again for Mindset Shift, which is a wonderful book. I read it and it was very inspiring for me because when I came to the US like about 10 years ago, I had to start all over again.
Yep.
And it was very inspiring to read that book and very motivating. Thank you again. And we waiting for the next book. And don't forget to share with us when it's out, so we can assist as much as possible. And thank you again for your time. And we wish you a wonderful year, wonderful 2025. And if you have any last thing for today that you want to leave us with, what would that be?
Yeah, I would say the thing that I want to stick with people is just gratitude. And, that's the feeling that I started this year with. I'm just grateful that I was able to go from sleeping on floors and outside to now working at the forefront of innovation in Microsoft's AI strategy and investments group. And there's so many things to be grateful for. Good health. If you woke up this morning and you have full function in all of your senses, there's just so many things to be grateful for. And when you live in gratitude, you unlock an opportunity for yourself to see opportunity, but also to create opportunity. And so I would encourage the audience to really take time today and reflect about what it is they're thankful for. And don't spend any time thinking about what you don't have.
Perfect. Thank you so much. There's no better way to end today's episode. We thank you again for your time, and we hopefully everyone will take something from our interview today. Depends on what stage they are in their career and their life. There's always something that they can get from it. We thank you. That was really perfect, and we wish you all the best in your next endeavors. Thank you. All right. Have a good one. All right. Thank you so much.
All right, man.
All right. Take care. All the best.
Éducation, c'est richesse. L'émission qui valorise notre culture et notre savoir. Vous aimez nos contenus? Alors, abonnez-vous à notre chaîne YouTube pour ne rien manquer. Abonnez-vous pour rester informé de toutes nos émissions inspirantes. Likez pour soutenir notre mission éducative. Partagez pour diffuser les vraies valeurs de notre pays. Ensemble, faisons briller l'éducation et la culture haïtienne.